Singleness. Let's talk about it. Jesus, coffee. Topic we haven't really talked about. Topic we haven't really talked about before. So I want to go in and talk about singleness. I want to go in through 1 Corinthians 7. So the context of this epistle or this letter is this is Paul's letter to the church in Corinth. And he goes in to talking about the unmarried and the widows in this portion of the chapter. I want to read through verses 32 through 40. And I want to tear them apart as we get to them. And you're going to hear some things in here, and I kind of want to give you a context so when I read them, you kind of grasp what he's saying there. So in this time, good morning, birthday boy. Happy birthday, Eddie, the birthday boy. When we go into this portion, in this time, you don't see as much sexual immorality as you do in our culture today. So when Paul addresses virgins, he's addressing the unmarried. So just so you understand when I hit that, where he says virgins, he's talking about unmarried, because typically women kept themselves pure until marriage in that portion of life. So he's going to go in and talk about singleness and talk about married life and the effect it has in the kingdom. But I want to focus on the singleness, and I want to focus on what he says about singleness. But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. Pin that. There's a difference between a wife and a virgin, married and unmarried. The unmarried woman cares for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy in both body and in spirit. But she who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. What he's not saying there, and don't grab it, and doesn't mean that the unmarried are more holy in spirit or body than the married are. I'll get into that. I'll tear apart what he's saying there. This is what I love what he says, though. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but for what is proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. So I'm going to put the brakes on that, and that's verse 35. So what he's saying in that portion, in that last verse, I love. Because to me that really puts the icing on singleness in the kingdom. It is undistracted devotion to the kingdom of God. When you are not single, when you are single and you're not married, all he's saying is you have no leash on you. And it's not saying when we're married we have a leash on us. That's not what he's saying. But we can't do what the single person can do in the kingdom. Listen to what I'm saying, guys. When you're married, it doesn't mean that you can't serve the Lord and you're ineffective to the Lord. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is when you're married, husbands are to focus on pleasing their Lord, focus on pleasing the Lord by pleasing their wife. Married women focused on serving the Lord by pleasing their husband. So you're in a covenant when you're married. Good morning, Bill. You're in a covenant with your spouse and the Lord. You're a cord of 3 strands, right? So it's not easily broken. When you're single and you're not spending all your time chasing your mate, you can go anywhere and preach the gospel. You can go anywhere. You can do anything because you don't have a spouse to take care of. Right? So that's what he means when he says it's undistracted devotion to the kingdom. Does that mean that if you're married, your spouse is a distraction? Yes, they are a distraction. But it does not mean you can't serve the Lord. It's a different distraction, and it's a godly distraction. So don't take that as a bad thing. That Leah's a distraction to me to serve the Lord. That's not. No. Because remember, guys, God created marriage. Remember, the only time in creation he said it is not good was for a man to be alone. Doesn't mean we're supposed to go run and get married. No, that's not what Paul's saying in this letter. What Paul's saying is when you are single, use that as devotion to the kingdom. Use that singleness and devotion to the kingdom. That's what he's saying. Don't miss that. He's not saying that married is a weakness, and he's not saying that singleness is a weakness or singleness is. What he's saying is use that time. Don't look at don't look at being single in the kingdom as a distraction. Use that time in full devotion, undistracted devotion to the Lord. That's all he's saying. And I love where he tears this apart in this chapter and really rips open singleness and really rips open. Because what he says early in this chapter, and I want to go into and just kind of touch on verse 25, because I think this is how he opens this portion. Now concerning virgins, again unmarried, I have no commandment from the Lord, yet I give judgment as one whom the Lord in his mercy has made trustworthy. So what he's saying there is Jesus didn't have any commands or laws on those that are unmarried. And he's not passing judgment saying, hey, because Paul himself and Jesus himself were both single. He's not saying that, hey, I'm single and you should be like me. No, that's not it. Being single is there's a good thing to being single in the kingdom. There is. You can use that when you focus on that. You're using that and you're focusing your attention on the Lord. You're not focusing your attention on your spouse. Guys, hear me in that? So in other words, being single, you have a different role in the kingdom of God. Your role now is to focus on your spouse and have a godly marriage. You hear me? You have a different role. You are now becoming the pastor of your house. Men, you're the pastor of your house. Don't lord that over people. Don't do that, because that's not what that's saying. You are spiritually responsible for your house. You're spiritually responsible to make sure that your family is chasing God. So that's your role in the kingdom. Now you take on the role of focusing on the Lord with your family. When those that are single, their role is to chase the Lord by themselves. They're chasing the Lord. It is. And before I met Leah, guys, I put a post up saying, Lord, it's you and I. Your grace is sufficient for me. It's you and me. When you're ready to put a woman in my life, you'll put a woman in my life. But until that time, it's me and you. What'd God do? the next day, Leah and I had connected on Facebook dating app. So God was like, okay, here you go. I'm ready. Here you go. So I got one ready for you. You're ready to go. So just to recap, singleness in the kingdom is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. Embrace that. Don't run around in all your time being distracted, chasing the next one. Use that time digging into the Word, digging into establishing, cultivating, building that relationship with Him. And make sure, don't miss this, guys. Do not miss this. Let me have your eyes and your ears. When you are chasing a mate and when you are pursuing a mate, make sure they are also chasing the Lord. I will go into a video on relationships tomorrow where we will talk about the triangle. Make sure that when you are chasing somebody and starting to date somebody, they also are chasing the Lord. Important. It is called equally yoked, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But singleness, when you are single, when you're not focused on chasing somebody and somebody chasing you, chase Him. Chase Him. Chase the kingdom. Chase how you can affect the kingdom. Sharing the gospel, talking to others. You're not harnessed and held down by a family. So do what you can for the kingdom. Do what you can for the Lord. And undistracted devotion to the kingdom. It's a beautiful title. I love it. It just flows so freely. Undistracted devotion to the kingdom. When you're single, that's what you have. It's a beautiful thing. So, I love you guys. I do. He dropped this on me on Sunday as I was listening to the message. I didn't have my notebook available, so I texted Leah. She was like, what? I knew what I was texting her. So, we'll be back tomorrow with whatever Dad wants to talk about, guys. Love you.